It's time to grow and scale your coaching business the impact-driven, simple and sustainable way. Welcome to Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi. I'm your host, Sofia, mindset and business coach, supporting ambitious new and rising coaches to master their mindset, create an aligned and profitable strategy, and grow a six-figure business and beyond using the Rising Coach method. I built a $1 million business by the age of 26 in under 4 years, and I've coached hundreds across the globe to build incredible businesses that create freedom and fulfillment whilst having a whole lot of fun along the way. And in this podcast, I will teach you the mindset, strategy, and energetics to do the same. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi. Now, in this episode, I have the honor and the privilege of interviewing the beautiful Elena Daccus from Bossy Heels. Elena is honestly next to none cool. She will tell you all about her story herself, but all you need to know is that she is a messaging and high ticket sales expert, and she helps top CEOs and experts sell out their offers in just 45 minutes. And she has bought and sold over 50 companies worth over $10 billion. So you best believe I have greatly appreciated the opportunity to be able to interview her. And all I want to leave you with before we dive into this episode is I, set out to interview her, had all these questions. I was so taken aback and blown away by what she said that if you are watching the video version of the podcast, you'll just see I just go into this, my own little world, my own little planet, because I was so present in what she was saying that I completely forgot I was interviewing her. And instead, I was just listening to every single word she said. I was taking it on board like it was some gospel thing. My mind was blowing, guys. My mind was blowing. We had a beautiful conversation before and after the episode as well. And, she's amazing. And she's, I'm blown away. And it was just incredible. And it's just so funny. If you watch the video, you'll just see I'm so laser light focused on what she's saying that I just started asking questions from pure curiosity and what was coming up for me from listening to the episode and what I thought would be helpful, obviously, for you guys and for my clients and so forth. But I just went into this whole other world because of the storytelling capabilities she has and the experience and the results and what she was sharing. It was incredible. So if you're anything like me, I know you're going to love this episode. Dive on in, and I would love to hear your takeaways on Instagram at Sofia Rose Bernardi once you're done. Hello, Elena, and welcome to Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi.
Hello. Pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited about today's episode because we're going to be diving so deep into your journey and how you help coaches and CEOs to sell their offers and grow their business and do so in a way that both feels good and generates incredible results. And I want to dive straight on in because you have a really, really cool journey. And I think that always gives people some nice context before we start in. So do you want to share a little bit about you, who you help, and why you help them?
Of course, sure. Pleasure to be here. So yes, my name is Elena Daccus, and I'm a high-ticket sales and a messaging expert, and I work with coaches, experts, consultants. And my journey is a little bit different. For over 20 years, I have been buying and selling companies in mergers and acquisitions. I have bought and sold over 50 companies worth over $10 billion US. And Sophie, it's just been such a beautiful journey to open the leads to hundreds of businesses to see what's actually working from the inside. I can see big celebrity names. I can see huge following on Instagram. I can see private jet and champagne parties. But actually, when we go into this business and open the leads, we'll open the books, we'll look at the funnels, we'll look at stuff, what's actually underneath it all, what's working, what's not. And honestly, the horror stories I can tell you of huge names, but actually, when you open the books, when you open the business, the founder is trapped within its business, hating its clients, and frankly, not making the kind of money you think they are. And this has really been my journey, collecting all the gems of what successful companies had in common, what failed businesses really missed to implement and put into my signature framework. And really, alongside that, founders and CEOs started coming to me and they're saying, Elena, I want to scale my business. I want to do it in a smart way. Tell me what works, what doesn't, how should I do it? And really, I started advising very naturally founders and CEO to help them exit, to help them scale, and really set up powerful systems to really scale their business that does it in a way that gives them a lot of time freedom, but also financial freedom. So that's kind of been my journey.
Wow, that is so cool. And honestly, like, this is what I'm so excited to dive deep on because, you know, you've just thrown out the word $10 billion, right? And most people can't even comprehend that that number even exists. So I'm going to be putting myself in the shoes of the audience listening right now. What do you mean by, like, you've bought and sold like 50 companies, like, worth over $10 billion? Like, how does one even begin to go about that? Like, what does that even look like?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing, I know it's a big numbers. I mean, the best thing to think about is when it comes to kind of buying and selling, you can think of, we would buy and sell company maybe like yours or someone who is listening. Maybe they have a small team. They may be making 7 figures. Some will be making multiple 6 figures. But also, if you think of some larger companies in the world, and if you think about their valuation, we're talking about billions. Kind of Canva, you think about tech companies, you think about consultancy and trading companies, the actual valuations can get really high. So then perhaps the way to be thinking about when I talk about those numbers is, let's say if you're making consistent 6 figures or consistent 7 figures, if you were to go and sell that business, we're now looking at multiples of your kind of monthly or yearly revenue. So this is where actually the value of your business, and it's a really great framework for you as a CEO and founders to at some stage start to be thinking about, yes, I'm making consistent 7 figures or consistent 6 figures or consistent 5 figures, doesn't really matter in my business. And it's great cash, it's great revenue, it's cash in the bank, but actually, what's the value of it? And this is where we get into much bigger numbers because especially depending on your niche, depending on the systems, and that's what we'll talk more about today, depending on how you've set up your business can be incredibly valuable because when you come to actually maybe sell or exit, or maybe you do want to get to a stage where actually it kind of feels fun to maybe exit or sell this business, you're looking at multiples of your effectively yearly revenue and income generation. And sometimes multiples could be really high, and depending on the industry, on the area of specialty, we're talking times 16, times 20 times your revenue. So you can get into really big numbers. And also, I've spent years in sales and marketing and negotiating, sitting across the world's largest, think about biggest companies in the world, FTSE 100 boardroom tables, and really negotiating, selling, marketing, persuasive communication. And this has been my jam. So one thing I'd love to share with the audience is really, what are the tips of messaging? How do we get someone from a stranger to becoming a buyer in 45 minutes inside their live events? What do we say to get them to want to buy from you, to want them to work with you? This has been my obsession for so many years, because throughout this business journey, I kind of realized actually the most important skill, the thing that matters the most, is your ability to convince, is your ability to move someone, your ability, especially if you're a coach expert, your ability to move your clients into action. Number one thing, like the way you get people to results is you move them into action. And that's your ability as a CEO, your ability to move your audience into action to buy from you. And later on, it's also your ability to get investors to invest and back you up. So this ability, and this is really my jam, this is my zone of genius, is getting the skills of persuasive communication. How do we explain what you do? How do we move someone? And really, this is the power. This is what I call the messaging, the communication, just the foundation of everything.
I 100% agree, messaging, marketing, sales, communication, convincing, all of those sorts of things are so important. And often it's like the areas that coaches in particular, especially starting out, fear the most, avoid the most. Like they want to do the comfortable things like create the graphics on Canva, or they just, they want to coach people and help people, but hey, you got to do all those things even for that to be a reality. Hey, so 100% agree. And we've got a lot in common, in terms of what we help people with and how we help people. Like I'm a really big fan as well of online events and trainings where you're marketing yourself and your offer and your service and how you help people. So it's quite a bold, and I love the statement of helping experts to sell out their offers in 45 minutes. Could you dive a little bit deeper on what that actually means and looks like, and any advice and tips you have to truly get someone to go from a stranger to purchase?
Absolutely. Well, I guess this is, I think we just tapped into so important. I think you're so right. When people starting out, or maybe they're kind of having some traction, maybe they're making sales, they're getting some sales from referrals, but in their mind, people think, well, all I need in order to scale is just to have bigger audience. A lot of people think, well, I just need more viral reels, or I need to have a bigger following on Instagram. I need to have a bigger Facebook group. I just need traction and traffic and audience, and then I'll get my sales. I'll get my 100K per month. That's the only thing I need. Well, in reality, it's actually not the case. I work with a lot of influencers, like really big names, and some of them will have a really big audience, but actually they're not making the money you would want. And part of the reason it's a different thing of having a following and having an audience and actually converting that following, two completely different things. And if you think about when we talk about conversion, this is your process in your business, how you actually move someone. How do you make sales? How do we actually get them to buy? And that's the foundation. That's kind of like it's, that's the core of your business. You can have a tiniest following, but if you can, maybe 10 people watching your masterclass or listening to your presentation, but if 2 of them become high ticket buyers, that's better than having millions of followers, but none of them really in the right place. They're not serious. They can't afford your service and so many other things. So I guess that's the key thing, that the focus always needs to be on the conversion process. That's where you're going to have the highest ROI. That's where you're going to get the highest that's what really matters. The rest is kind of the noise. So that's number one. Number two, it's having this process in your business. I love masterclasses, funnels. I think masterclass is really powerful. We've seen with all the niches, and we work with over 39 niches, this is what works the best. Really, you have one powerful presentation, signature presentation that moves a person from a stranger to a buyer. And you can use that presentation in so many different ways. You can use it as your live events, where of course you teach. You can use it in your launches. You can use it in your evergreen funnels. You can use it on podcasts, and it kind of becomes this messaging foundation of your whole business. So especially a good sign if you ever sit in front of the computer and thinking, I don't know what to post, or I don't know what to write in my email, that means you haven't done your messaging work. Because when you've done your messaging work and you have this powerful presentation, you know exactly what steps your buyers need to take before they buy, you pull the little pieces of that into your content. So everything becomes coherent, everything is on message. And one of the things when people hear this, they're like, but I have a webinar funnel. I have a podcast. I'm doing all those things, but why am I not seeing the results you're talking about? And the key difference is, well, there's a couple of things happening. Well, first of all, the old webinar model is dead. The salesy, pushy webinars where the idea is you teach, awkward silence, and then you pitch. The worst way well, that's what happens, right? People, when especially experts that have a lot of experience, they think, well, I'm running this live event. I want to do this webinar. I want to do this launch. I want to make it so valuable to people. I want to impress them. I want to really show off my expertise. So what they think is, how should I do it? Well, it took me 10 years to figure this thing out that they teach right now. I know exactly the nuggets, the gems. I'm going to teach my best stuff for free in the hope that I'm going to blow them away. And then I'm going to put my offer in front of them. And that's what they do. And of course, what happens is the audience is like, on receiving end of it, completely overwhelmed and like confused because you just showered people with information and steps and tutorials and how to. So they're like confused, they're very bored. And we know one thing, confused buyers never buy.
Yeah, I use that quote as well. A confused mind will never buy.
Never buy, right? If someone's overwhelmed, you've given them, first of all, you've given them 10,000 steps to do. They're like written it out. They think, okay, great. So my to-do lists have exploded. Let me go away and hide for 6 months before I complete it. And then I come back to you. So they're not buying.
Mm.
And of course, also we know information doesn't sell. So if you look in, all the best-selling books, the best TED Talks that people love and watch, the books that changed our world, that kind of shaken us, that we recommend to our friends and family, they're not going to be encyclopedia, are they?
No, it's so true.
The books that we give, the books that we love, the books that we recommend to our friends are none of them going to be tutorials, none of them going to be how-to stuff, none of them going to say information. They do something much deeper. They give us this aha moment, transformational insights is what I call it. They give us this like, oh my word, that's just blown my mind. I cannot believe this. And it just completely changes the path and direction of your life. And actually, when you think about this strategy, the way we move people is when we help them make a decision in a subconscious communication way, very powerfully, so they make a decision for themselves to start solving their problems with your solution. And at the same time, we give them such a big aha moments and this blow my mind moments that they're like, oh my word, she's so amazing.
So
Like
give
I
me an
got
example. Give me an example, like,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's really, it's kind of the way we do this. For example, I work this with clients, and we custom build this for all their businesses. So all your aha moments are going to be very different, and they're really crafted for every person. So the aha moment will be something, so a good example of that, if you think about someone who's struggling, right? Someone who is struggling. Let's say they started their online business and they're not making the money they want, but they're actually working 8 hours per day, more than they even did in a corporate job. So they're working really hard. They're following the gurus. They feel like they're doing the right thing. So what do the gurus tell them? The gurus that tell them all the time, well, just add value, be consistent, and people will buy. We hear this all the time. So they're doing that. They're like, yeah, okay, add value. Let me create lots of valuable posts, a lot of steps, everything I know and teach. Let's say someone is a parenting coach or so they're doing that. It takes them a lot of work and then they're not seeing the results. So actually, and the person is like, well, I don't understand why it's not working. I'm doing the thing everyone's telling me to do. I'm working hard. I'm consistent. Why am I not seeing results? So actually what's happened underneath it, there's some invisible things that they don't see. It's their blind spots that they're completely blind to. They believe, and which is the action they take, that adding value is the best way to sell, right? But actually someone who has a lot more experience, who has a lot more expertise, they see, well, actually, you're taking a wrong action. You're doing a wrong thing. The only reason you're not getting the results you want is because you don't understand that information doesn't sell. So if we get someone to see their biggest blind spots that's actually holding them back, that's more valuable than giving them a steps of what to do. So actually putting spotlight on people blind spot, that actually changing people beliefs, helping them understand what is it that what action they're taking that actually causes the results that they're not getting, or the lack of results. That's more valuable than anything else. That's the highest value. So a good example, someone at the gym, if someone's following this diet, eating a huge amount of protein, lifting weights really heavily, but they're not losing weight, but they're like, well, I'm doing what the gurus are telling me to do. I'm eating lots of protein or exercising. When an expert looks at their whole system, they actually, you're over exercising. You're exercising too much because your cortisol levels are too high, because you're 45 years old and actually you're perimenopause and you're eating too much meat. You may be eating too much protein, which is counterintuitive to what they've been taught. And they're like, oh my, what? I didn't realize that. That just blew my mind. So we actually highlight them. What are the kind of the blind spots that they're not seeing? And when they tap into that, this is where they're like, "Oh my word, I've just lost weight in a week, and I worked out less, and I've eaten, I've eaten less protein, which I kind of like. I've just been eating stuff that more I enjoy." So the point is, people need to see their blind spots. That's more valuable than giving them another vehicle. They're giving them another 50 steps, or giving them an exercise. You can give them, hey, here's your new exercise plan, new exercise routine, do this new thing. It's more valuable to highlight to people what is actually holding them back from the results, from what they want to achieve.
And
Another good example of that, maybe just to highlight this, think about running. A good example of a runner, someone who wants to improve their running, you can give them, right, if you're like their new coach, you can give them, right, here's your new completely new thing you need to be doing, here's your new running training schedule, here's your new nutrition schedule. Or you can say, you know what, you're running in wrong shoes, let's replace your shoes, and this is a big mistake you're making, and you're going to add 3 seconds on your mile. Which one's more, and you see how they can give such a powerful insights in your presentation, and people are like, oh my, what, I didn't realize that. So they get immediate results, they get a transformation inside your live event. Plus, if it's done smartly and it's connected to your offer, you also create simultaneously demand for what you're selling. That's where the power comes in.
I love that. I've never heard it articulated this like this. So, but I 100% agree. And it makes so much sense. So what I'm really hearing is I'm seeing why, the combination of running masterclasses paired with exceptional, clear messaging and having a high ticket offer is so powerful. And really what I took away from that is it's so important that you know your messaging, because how can you create a title and an exceptional masterclass if you don't first know what the blind spots are or what the pain points are, which is why I wanted you to share an example for everyone listening that, just, learns through listening like that about what they can consider when getting for that. So you think that it's less about the how-tos and more about debunking actually their current beliefs and ways of thinking.
Yeah, well, it's actually so for.
If you're enjoying this episode, then I'd greatly appreciate it if you're not already, if you could take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Your support fuels our mission to bring you even more valuable content every week. My promise to you is that if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, I'll continue making incredible episodes each week that help you to grow and scale your coaching business. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, well, it's actually so for inside my signature methodology, there's over 11 steps where basically a buyer has to go through, and it's invisible steps that they have to go through before they buy. And it's all crafted for your business. Like every business will be different, what those 11 steps are. So it's really important to understand that. But absolutely. So a few other things that's really important is a lot of subconscious communication. So there's two ways of selling. You can either go and sell, hey, here's my program, the price is this, there's the benefits you're going to get. So you're selling on the benefits of your offer, right? So that's the benefits of your, that's another big mistake people are making. And it's like selling on a market. It can work to an extent, but it feels like, oh my word, I'm constantly flogging my service. I'm so tired. I'm so salesy. And it just feels really kind of sometimes icky. Also, when you sell the benefits of your offer too early, it's like, I remember I went to my doctor, and I have this private doctor, and he's like really excitable man. So I'm sitting in his chair and he's like, oh, hi, Elena. So good to see you. I haven't seen you for ages. Oh my word, I've got to tell you about this new treatment. I've got this new treatment for Lyme disease. Basically, you eat it, it's very natural, it's herbs, and you have this amazing skin. You get this great appetite, you start eating the food, and you've got like amazing energy, and all your symptoms disappear. And I'm sitting there in the doctor's chair thinking, well, that's great, doctor, but I don't have Lyme disease.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I knew that that's the point that was coming.
Right? It's like, but I don't have it. So it's not relevant to me. So selling on the benefits of your solution that way is going to fall on deaf ears. They're like, well, okay, but it's not for me. I'm not sure I want this. Maybe it's not. So you think about this, and, more powerful is actually a lot of people, when they focus on their messaging, they build their messaging, they're actually extremely vague. They will be saying things like, I worked with overwhelmed mothers. Well, what does that even mean? Like, what overwhelmed means to me and what means to you are completely different things. And it's very subjective. It's highly subjective. Um, or I work with, burnt out female entrepreneurs. What does that even mean? Because every mother or entrepreneur I know is overwhelmed and, burnt out. But actually, it's highly subjective, and what it means different things to different people. So it's really bad copy, bad marketing, and it kind of falls on deaf ears. Which much better to say is, are you a mother that you have lost your keys 3 times in the morning before you have to drop the kids off, or you have to shout at your kid at least 5 times between the hours of 7 and 9 a.m. to get them out of the door? Raise your hand if it's you. And people are like, oh my, why'd I do this? It's the same. Yeah, it's like subconscious communication. If I tell you, if you're a woman and you're right now on the system, the podcast recording, and you're wearing a black jumper, this is information is for you. It's like, I'm illustrating, but that's what subconscious communication do. You can't help but being like, oh my word, she's talking about me.
Yeah. So being really specific in your messaging, marketing, and trainings, basically.
Yeah, deeply. So a lot of it comes from a lot of groundwork. So a lot of work that we do with my clients, and we do it for all levels. Some of them will be making 7 figures, going on a break of 8 figures, and we still do this messaging work. With one of the top companies that I advise, we always start and do messaging work. If you think like you've got it nailed, you can go deeper. Like every single business, whether you make it 8, 9, I don't care, messaging is the key. If you're not
why
hitting
you hear like, Apple and Coca-Cola, and they spend hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. I think actually billions of dollars on messaging and copywriting and marketing.
Correct. But the kind of old way of copywriting is also dead. If you think about with ChatGPT, with information available, it's also kind of dead. The future is really persuasive communication, subconscious communication, and crafting powerful messaging for every different offer. Every offer in your business needs to have its own messaging strategy. Really important. And it all needs to be coherent. So the way I like to start is always want to start with an offer. What are you selling? What's the thing? And we really do a lot of offer work. A lot of what we see and a lot of mistakes people make on their offers, they're pricing them too low. I mean, a good example of that, recently a client came to me and she was selling a 500 pounds product. She was selling it to corporates, kind of this B2B businesses. And we just changed the offer and we turned it in a 50,000 pound offer. Much more valuable, much more of a solution in the box, end-to-end solution that solves a really painful problem, valuable problem for that particular ideal client. So we did 2 things. We changed the offer, but we also changed who we're selling it to. So now we're moving from $500 offer to a $50,000 offer. It's a different client who's going to buy it. So because we start there, we've identified a very specific problem that she's solving. It needs to be a very valuable problem that people are prepared to pay 50,000 for. And then we create a solution that speaks and solves that powerful problem for them. And once we created that, she was like, oh my word, that feels so powerful. She was super confident in delivering that because she knew I'm solving this I'm basically, creating this HR function in the box for this business. It's so valuable. I've just saved them 10 staff that they don't have to hire because of the solution I've just offered. They're just saving them money. 50 grand for that is like a bargain. It's like crazy. So her level of confidence skyrocketed. She's like thinking on a different scale. She's thinking and serving different clients. And that's now feels so exciting because they're committed, they're powerful, they're already successful. And she, all of that. And now it becomes so much easier to build a messaging around that. So now we can talk to that particular client, their specific problems, their specific issues, and we can use this psychology and 11 steps, incorporate that in a messaging system and a presentation. And that's what we did with her. We created this powerful 45-minute presentation based on where we started. She delivered that to 10 people. 10 people made 1 sale. 50K
Yeah.
50K in 45 minutes. And that just like, skyrocketed everything that she was doing before, kind of like selling this one-off, consultancy stuff. So this is really how it works. So really, I want you to be thinking about offer. We're most likely going to increase the price. I'm going to change the positioning of that, like wrapping around the packaging, what it is, how it is, and how make it super valuable. And it's not just adding more things to it. A lot of times, actually stripping things away, making more like simpler, but really powerful. Like for her, it was like we're selling a whole HR function in a box.
Mhm.
And then really identifying, well, who now it's for, who values this deeply, and then creating a whole funnel, one masterclass funnel that directly speaks to it. And then sales are effortless. Sales become the easiest thing in the process when the work is done that way.
And it's an automated funnel? Or is it
Well, yeah,
you run it live? You run the same event live frequently, or do you record it once and then keep getting it to new people?
Yeah, I mean, we do both. So a lot of my clients, what we've seen work the best is they will run it live. They will run it live as a live event, which is great. We will also do kind of a shorter, more concise recorded version. And I actually help them build with my team. We build funnels with my clients and for my clients. So what we'll create an automated funnel, a masterclass funnel with a slightly condensed, more faster pace version, because there's few tricks that we have learned after running so many really successful automated webinars that, the pace, there's a few tricks in the game that you have to incorporate to get people listening. Yeah, so we do both. So they will run as a live event. They will also run it a version of that strategy into the evergreen funnel. Because if you think about it, especially if someone's running ads or they're creating a lot of organic posts, I had a recently client, she came to me and she's like, well, Elena, I have like 40,000 followers on Instagram. I've got this 5 viral reels that went crazy viral. They like got over 1 million of views. But I don't know what to do with it. So he's like, I can't monetize them. I don't know how to turn them into clients. So we just created this evergreen funnel. So basically every time someone watches the reel, then there's call to action, go and watch my masterclass. They drop into the masterclass and then they want to effectively immediately book a call with her and say, right, I need this. How can I work with you? And that's another shift we're doing. So you're not selling, you're not pitching anything directly. None of that. You're actually not doing any of market selling. There's zero pitching inside of any of the presentations. It's all deeply rooted in transformational insights. But what we're doing is at the same time as you're delivering that, we're creating a deep desire for your offer. So every story you say, every example you give needs to be deeply connected with your final offer. That's critical. Nothing that's going to detract people's attention from that. No stories about how you embarrassed yourself when you were 7 years old, that if it's not relevant to what you're selling right now. Everything needs to be coherent. And by the end of it, they're like, oh my word, I deeply need this. And they ask to buy from you. The energy, the dynamic really changes.
So what you're saying is if you do a good enough job at, speaking into the pain points, your actual concept and the benefits, that people will find a way to purchase, like you don't even mention the offer.
Correct. Well, the offer kind of like you, because the offer is so integral to what you do, it becomes kind of the cornerstone. So there's no pitching, but you always getting people on board with an idea. So the best thing to think about is like your big ideas. What are the big ideas your clients need to get on board with? And be kind of convinced is a great idea before they're going to buy. So really, that's another way of thinking about. And I don't think of pain points. It's less about pain points, because pain points are very subjective. And another problem with pain points, it's quite negative marketing. So one of the things that we see, it attracts negative buyers. So the way to be, and it's just, there's always a really fine balance. But what we're seeing is if your marketing is very negative, it's going to attract people who talk negatively to themselves, and they're less likely to be successful already. And one thing is, you said earlier, success leaves clues. Successful people that are already successful, either in career or in their business, or they're successful with their fitness, are more likely to be successful going forward. And actually much better to build a business and attract this kind of clients, committed, successful, that are ready to do things. So it's less about pain problems, pain points. It's more about what are the problems that people actually face that's holding them back, and kind of it's a big roadblock on the way to their success. That's perhaps a different way to be thinking. What are the biggest problems that's getting in the way of people to get to where they want to get to? Because once they get rid of that roadblock, they're flying.
Yeah. So true. I love all things events. It's like the main thing I teach. I could talk about this for hours, but one of the final things that I really want to ask you, based on your extensive experience with working with, like you said, some of the biggest companies out there, is what are the common behaviors, habits, strategies, thoughts of these top experts, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and so forth that you see in common, regardless of whether they're a coach or something else, that has really attributed to their success? Is it that, I know you mentioned that they all focus on like messaging and sales and so forth, but yeah, is there specific things you've been like, this is bizarre, this has been in common with everyone no matter what?
Yeah, a few things actually. I love this question so much. Really powerful. Few questions. What really unites successful people is they don't wait. So they don't wait, and they really trust themselves to get the results. I know we've talked about this, is this idea that you got to invest in yourself. If you're hearing something that resonates, for example, one of my best clients is they've had their webinar funnel. It didn't work. It didn't convert. They were struggling with it, or they wanted to improve conversion. And they kind of heard me speak, and they were like right away reached out, and we dove into their business. And in 10 days, we've improved their conversion by 20%. In 10 days. And other people will struggle for years. They think, well, the webinars must not work. Masterclasses must not work. Launches is a wrong thing. Let me swap and change on strategy and do something else. Well, actually, they just didn't get the right expertise at the right time to help them. So the point is, if you have a problem, most successful people, if they have a problem in their business, they don't make it personal, they don't make it mean anything about them. They just say, hey, I have a problem that I need to get better at speaking. I need to get better in conversion. I know my sales and my conversion needs work. Let me get help and expertise to fix that problem. And they go and source it. They don't try to figure out themselves. They don't try to watch 1,000 hours of free YouTube videos and piecemeal information and try to then scramble through and put it together. They don't do any of that. They go pay for expertise because they know this is the best investment. They fix it fast, and then they grow. They move on to something else. Then they have another problem with their team. I have a lot of my clients, they're now at the stage of where they're recruiting large teams. They're like, okay, I'm not going to go and watch free YouTube videos or listen to stuff. I'm going to go get expertise, get help, get advice. I'm going to fix it. Fast results. And this is how they move on fast. And I do the same in my business. And I think that's the key thing. As a CEO, you just do not have time to figure things out. As a CEO, you are the biggest bottleneck in your business. I am deeply aware of that myself. I know all my clients, you are the biggest bottleneck. You have a problem, you lack skills, go and get it. Go and get it from people. Every single time, seek expertise. This is the biggest. If I can leave people with one biggest advice, don't wait years, because you're not getting any younger. None of us do. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. You have a problem, fix it. Problems need to be fixed.
And that's the biggest thing you see in common with everyone. They're just quick decision makers and invest in support.
Biggest thing, they don't sit on the problems. Biggest thing, they don't deliberate. So this is what struggling entrepreneurs procrastinate, wait, afraid to invest, watch 1,000 overthink. They follow 1,000 influencer coaches online. They hop on trend from trend. They spend most of their days scrolling. Successful entrepreneurs ignore the noise, focus on their business. They've got a problem. My webinar doesn't convert. My launch could have done better. I have this. Right. Who can I tap into? Get help. Sort this out. Fixed it, move on to the next thing. That's the biggest difference.
I love that. Amazing.
And zero fear in a way that they understand, but they trust themselves to know that when they invest, they're going to see the return. They
Mm.
don't have this blame mentality. A lot of people be like, oh, I invested in the coach, but I didn't make the money. It's always like, I don't know what really, I mean, it obviously depends. Clearly there's some really bad coaches out there and some really bad programs and bad promises. But a lot of times as well, have you actually implemented the work? Or have
Mm.
you just, before
Did you
completed your
lean into
someone else?
support? Yeah, did you lean into support? Did you show up? Did you ask questions? Did you, do your own inner work to not take things personally or the wrong way or project, your personal life and shitty things going on onto your coach? Like there's so many things I've seen, people do to other coaches and things like that. It's very fascinating to watch human behavior.
And also it's a ladder. So one of the most important things, sometimes, your first experience with a program or a course, you learn certain things. I certainly know every time I invested, I always get something out of it. Even if it's
Same.
not content, it might be the way the coach taught inside the group or the way they've mastered something. You always learn the invisible things. So I'm always aware that okay, maybe the content kind of I didn't learn, but actually what I've learned is how she handled the group, how she led her team. There's certain always things that you pick up. So I've never actually had experience where I didn't learn something
Mm,
because I trust myself that always, it's always you'll find pieces, and it's a ladder. The first course you take, you pick up thing, and then it opens up new problem and a new solution you need. A
mm,
lot of my clients, the reason why they come to me is because they've taken business advice and business coaches before to get them to the stage when they understand they need now messaging work. Because, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, they would have thought they just need audience and they don't need to worry about conversion. People will start buying. But
mm.
they kind of have to go through the journey, kind of find a bit of bruising, go through problems, iterate, and also scale to the extent where they're now, I'm ready to scale. I'm ready to take it seriously, and now they're ready to do the work with me. But they wouldn't have been ready 5 years ago. So
Mm.
a lot of times it's actually it's a journey, step by step, step by step. That's how you build a business.
100%. Like I've definitely been in some programs that, I loved less than others. However, again, like they're actually some of my greatest investments to date because I learned what not to do. And even then I still learn things to do, right? And that's valuable.
Oh, true. I want to underline and highlight some of the programs. I remember buying this program, and I was like, it was a group of 580 people.
Oh my God.
I mean, imagine a group coaching, one of the celebrity names you all know, a group coaching program with 581 person. And first of all, I've learned like I never want to do that. I never want to leave because good luck having a question answered or having any intimacy. And it taught me one thing: that's not the kind of business I want to have.
And that's
And that
valuable. That's valuable.
hugely so. And now all my groups are no more than 10 people. Like we
Mm.
kind of, yes, it takes more of my time, but that's the intimacy. That's what lights me up.
Yeah.
That's what exciting for me. This is how I want to run my business because I value, I'm a nightmare because I'm a really deeply hands-on in people's businesses. And they love that because we really co-create together. We kind of like I care deeply about everything that I do, and that's the kind of business I want to run. It might not be right for other people, but actually, only through experience you figure out what gels with you, what kind of lights you up, and that's ultimately what matters.
I agree. My goodness, this has been a valuable episode. Like, yeah, thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to finish up by saying or sharing that you feel has been left unsaid today?
No, I guess another thing I just want to say, a lot of time there's going to be a lot of noise, but if I can leave you with one thing, is that you're so much closer to your dreams, to your next goals. Like, if I can just show you how, I mean, for many people, you're literally one presentation away from your next level.
Mm,
And it might sound a bit like really, but actually the truth, if you think about it, if you're just 45-minute one presentation away from your next level, it's actually so much closer than people think. It's so much more powerful than people think, and it's so much more doable than people think.
mm.
No matter where you go, you're so much closer to it. And I want to say, you've got this. You've got this. If you're in this business, you want to help people, you want to create impact. And it's so much more than money for so many of people listening. It's so much more about really making a difference in the world. And I think it's so incredible. And I just know, think about it this way. There's people right now who need to hear your message, who need to hear you speak because they've been waiting for it. You're exactly what the missing ingredient they need in their business, in their life, and they just need to hear it. So if I can leave you with that, it's just you're so much closer than you think you are.
I love that. Thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want to learn more from you and even work with you?
Amazing. So I have a podcast, Bossy Heels, a podcast. We had you on the show as well. I interview one of the world's best experts. We have Stuart Claren, Alex Harmozy, Rachel Miller, you name it, is on the podcast. Go check it out. Also dive deeper into my masterclass. See how it actually works in practice. What I've been talking about. How does this masterclass process works? Go and check it out. We'll leave the details in the show notes, I'm sure. And then get to experience it, get to kind of like dive deeper into this whole process and how it works. And yeah, absolutely, always available for any questions, anything you want to chat through, kind of test, in the DMs, always there. I would love to hear from you.
That's the best. Thank you so much for your time. We'll link all of that below. And yeah, really appreciate you.
Thank you, Sofia. It was a pleasure.
Although I can't see each one of you, I know you're there because of the downloads we see each week, and I appreciate your presence immensely. If something in this episode resonated with you, I'd be thrilled to hear about it. Connect with me on Instagram at Sofia Rose Bernardi. Share your key takeaways or simply say hello. Your thoughts mean the world to me. Remember, it's your feedback that keeps this show going. Until next time, take care.